What you probably already know about the Wessex area of England and the west of England generally and Wales is that it's loaded with quite impressive ancient monuments, archaeology, landmarks of all sorts. I've come to Tidenham, which is in Gloucestershire, but it's right bang on the border with Wales, and that border for quite some time has been the River Wye. But there is a much quite an interesting well, it's a militarised zone, or well, it's certainly expression of power, and that's Offa's Dyke, and it starts here. This is Offa's Dyke, which is an embankment and ditch that runs along the border between England and Wales. It was built in the early medieval period, the Anglo-Saxon period, and it's a symbol of state power. If you've got the ability to make thousands of men and women dig a ditch across 200 miles, you are powerful, as well as military expression of force, to be able to express that force on a people that are really fed up at their land being taken away. I didn't come here for Offa's Dyke. I wanted to have a look at the Anglo-Saxon boundaries of Tidenham, a purely neutral look at the ancient landscape. We have a few boundaries and boundary names and so on. But I couldn't ignore an early medieval monument running slap bang through the middle of it. Interestingly, it's not mentioned in the charter, which is about 200 years after this was built. So it does make you wonder just how, whether or not this was one massive white elephant. But anyway, I'm here now. I'm going to explore parts of it, its relationship to the landscape, its relationship to the two peoples, the Welsh and the English, and some other monuments that are around here. We're just outside Chepstow. Chepstow is right on the border, but on the Welsh side of the River Wye, and we're actually on the other side of the Wye, on the English side in Gloucestershire, the parish of Tidenham, which is tiny, but in medieval period, later than the Anglo-Saxon period, it was a royal forest. It may very well have been. Well, it does have a connection with royalty in the early medieval period. One of the hamlets in it is called Kingerstown or something along those lines, Kingstown. But we know there's a place called Tidenham Chase, and we know from other charters, later charters, that this was a royal forest. Well, certainly the northern part of it was a royal forest, which had privileges and restrictions. Well, privileges for the king and restrictions for everybody else. So why does any of this matter? Because it's, I'd argue, because it's about the country we live in, but the how we got to where we are and how we interact with it. Well, it's partly that, but it's I mean, for me, it was lockdown, getting out for a nice walk, and doing something useful at the same time, sort of redeveloping my love of the landscape and antiquity, and it's in England and Wales and Scotland and Ireland, Northern Ireland. There's antiquities everywhere. It's scattered all over the landscape. I'll have to do a video sometime about how to find Roman pottery. There's like hot spots of Roman pottery all over this area, and you can just literally walk down a footpath and just pick it up. And we're really lucky like that. We can reach out and touch 4,000 years, 5,000 years of human habitation, a continuity of relationship with the land and the people who live on it. So I'm a bit further up the Wye Valley now, and you can see this is a promontory fort. Put my teeth back in, I have problems saying that. And it's a sort of wedge-shaped piece of land where you use really steep hills on two sides as your walls, and then the flat end at the other end of the triangle is built up as a bigger wall, and that's what you've got here. There's not a lot to see without setting my drone up, but there's people around and the electricity wires. But it's called Spittal something or other on the map, and often you've got in London there's places called Spittal Fields and so on, and that's to do with a hospital. But this probably wasn't a hospital here. There's another idea that this is, because this is a strange shaped field, that it is a pittle, which is an old word, an old English word, but an old modern, probably modern post-medieval word maybe, or maybe even Middle English, that describes an odd shaped field, and it may and may not be related to the word pittance, but it's not necessarily a desirable field. So I think that's what this is. It's marked on the map as Spittal. I think it's a pittle, but there you go. That's just my thoughts on it. But it could be. I was making the case. I can't, because there's so many trees around. I can't really see very well whether or not you can see the beginning of the Offa's Dyke from here, because certainly the Wands Dyke, which is another dyke, defensive dyke post-Roman. This is probably Anglo-Saxon, maybe post-Roman. There's one theory. Hasn't got a lot of traction, but there's one theory that's much older, just after the Romans left. But that was like a wall between old Iron Age forts. This is an Iron Age fort, where they reused it after the Romans left. But you would have been able to sight between the forts, and obviously if there's trouble, you put a beacon, a bonfire, and request troops from the next Iron Age, the next fort along. So that's the theory anyway. So there's a lot to do with sight of line, just as much as taking the high ground and being defensive. Village called Lancowit or something like that. I apologise for my pronunciation of Welsh names. In the Old English, what's interesting in the Old English Charter, because that is part of Gloucestershire even with the Welsh name, so it's named after a saint. I've forgotten the name of it, but we know it is a Welsh saint. But obviously the Anglo-Saxons came along and took over, and they anglicised it to become Landcowit. And there's some interesting stuff about what goes on there. There are also a lot of sort of agricultural information about how, who could, what sort of fish weirs there were, and also some interesting stuff about Welsh Welsh seamen coming along in their boats and access and so on. So that's quite interesting as well. It shows it's not just war. There's certainly within, there's some sort of accommodation for economics, which is normally one of the roads to peace, is economic relationships, trade. But anyway, the day's getting on. I found the whole thing quite a depressing walk today, because yesterday was the end of British summertime, which is a total pain in the neck. So night is going to drop 1 hour earlier tonight, and it's also recognition we're now entering a cold and wet period. I got really rained on earlier on. But it was interesting that one landowner tried to prevent me access to right of way. I'm going to be checking that with the council when I get back. This is the public rights of way register for Gloucestershire county, and there you can see the pink lines are public rights of way. So the gentleman was quite pleasant about his rejection of my rights to cross his land. It wasn't, I've been threatened with being run over by horses before by some landowners. I find Gloucestershire farmers much nicer people than, say, Wiltshire farmers for some reason, but that is pretty annoying. I may write to him. I'll certainly write to the council. I was suggesting to him that I'd go around it goes right through his farmyard. I did suggest to him I'm quite happy to go around the wall to, for his own privacy, or he could have made me go down the track and rejoin the path, but he declined to do so. So these rights need defending. I mean, not militantly. I'm just going to write to the council, but the public footpath sign obviously isn't there anymore, and it needs putting up again. Each council has a document showing what right of ways there are. I'm convinced he's wrong. This sort of, well, I know he's wrong, but the situation often where you get a path that goes nowhere, it doesn't lead up to anything, it just goes somewhere, and then you have to turn around and come back. Landowners like to reclaim those, because why on earth would you go down there? Well, you might have a hobby, for example, of being an internet hobo talking about Anglo-Saxon charters, which is a fair enough reason, I feel, for going down the right of way, even if it goes nowhere. But anyway, that's the end of my video, and I hope to see you on the next one. Remember to subscribe and everything. Ta-ra for now.